take out the same paper we've been working on for a while now, the one that says notes, vector application. Okay, yours is the same title. We've been doing the same for 2 days. Okay, so go to problem number 8. Okay, and here it is. And why don't you go ahead and try, I think the biggest problem that we're having is setting them up. So set this problem up, try it. Okay, so let me see how you did on setting this up. First of all, draw your picture. And it says that you're going to travel, an airplane is 400 southwest. Okay, so if this is north and this is south, this is west, southwest would be this direction. So just pick a piece of measurement to here. And that's going to be measured as 400. Okay. Now, if you end up writing your measurement and it ends up being in your triangle, just erase the measurement and put it on the outside of the triangle. Okay. So if you now then what you're going to do with the wind is your plane is here at this end point. So here's your airplane. Either the wind is going to push it this direction, or the wind is going to push it down. So you're going to make a new compass rose, here it is, to help you decide from this point, I'm going to stay from here, what is the wind doing? Okay, and it says it's blowing in the direction of west. So if you're blowing in the direction of west, it's just a way of saying you're blowing west. So this is west, right? So if you're going to blow in the direction of west, you're blowing this direction. Erase this so you can see better. So I'm blowing here. And it tells us that it's 50. So this is your 50, from here to here. So you had an airplane that was here. Your wind blew it this way. So an airplane is going to be, it's going to move from here to here. It moves out. So create your triangle, always back to the origin, correct? So here's your triangle back. In other words, the dashed line, you guys, represents your new airplane. So instead of being at this route, the wind kind of pushed it off course to here. Now to find this measurement, you've got the two sides, and you can actually, there's enough info to come up with the angle in the middle in order to use the law of cosine. Okay? So if you look at this picture and carefully think about it, this piece right here, this section, is going to represent 90 degrees, right? Because I need this angle. This section here is going to represent 45. So 90 plus 45 gives me 135. So that green section is 135. I'm going to erase it with this and then write it in. Okay, so in other words, I'll say that again. This part was 90, this part was 45. So together, I'm going to erase this part too so I can put it in nice and neat. That means this angle is 135 degrees. Okay, can you see that? This This is 135. Okay, to use law of cosine, right? This x goes with the 135. You can draw a line through it. Those match. So when you write it out, you're actually going to say, okay, knowing those match, I'm going to say always start with the side. So x squared equals, and the other two sides that are around the angle. So the 400 squared and the 50 squared. Try this on your calculator today. Some of you are still having trouble with the calculations. So minus 2 times your 400 times your 50. And remember, the x goes with the angle. So you start with the side and you end with the angle that matches it. So if I start with this x, I'm going to end with this angle because they go together. Yes, Devin.
Why is it 135?
Okay, so he's asking again why it's 135. This was my triangle. I'm going to reproduce it right here again. Correct? Okay, this angle is how much? How much is this?
90,
90. This angle is how much?
45.
So 90 plus 45 is 135. That's how I got it. Do you see it now? Okay. In your calculator, guys, all you're going to do is type in these numbers. Everyone in this room needs to try it. Because you've done this far and you can't mathematically get the answer. It doesn't do you any good. 400 squared plus 50 squared minus 2 and so forth. The whole thing. Use your calculators in degrees. And when you get your answer, don't forget to actually take the square root of it. So x ends up being 436.79 miles per hour. That's the new speed of the airplane. So I'm going to erase my x and write in the 436. Those of you that didn't see the rest of the line, I'm sorry. This is what it all said. I'm going to check it. All right, now, okay, everybody has that. Now let me talk about the heading. Okay, some of you got this yesterday pretty well, but let's look again at it. In the old section, if I start at the top and I travel to here, this is where my airplane was going. Right? Watch this part so you understand. I was at this solid line, which would have been 90. This represents 90. This would represent 180. Plus how much more? So that would have been 180 plus 45 more. Right? You go 90, 180, 45 more. But, okay, it was pushed off course a little bit. Just push off course this highlighted section. So am I going to add to the 180 and the 45 or subtract? I'm going to add because I'm going a tiny bit farther. Right? So I'm going to erase that. But in order to find it, you have to find y. Okay, this shout out is to Shepard's class. I know yesterday Shepard found y a little bit different way, but if you just want to keep doing it the way I've been doing it, then you can. All right, so if we're going to find y, okay, remember the side and the angle go together. So if you want to think about it, draw a line through the two that match. This angle matches this side, so 50 matches the yellow. Y'all see that? Because 135 is an angle. You always use. That did not do really good. Okay, so let's find the yellow angle. You always start law of cosine with the side, I'm sorry. So to start with the side, we're going to start at the one across, and it will always be the wind. So 50 squared equals, and then the two that you already had, the 400 squared plus the one you found. You always start it with the side, and it'll always be the wind. Okay, and then minus 2 times both of those numbers. And then cosine of y. Okay, now take your calculator out. And to solve it, remember how to solve this? If I'm trying to solve for y, if I want to get y by itself, I have to get rid of all of this. So this and this are pluses, so I subtract. These 3 are multiplication, so I divide. You do the opposite. So in your calculator, this will work if you want to try it. You take 50 squared and subtract your 400 squared and subtract your 436.79 squared. And you hit enter. That'll get rid of those. That moves those over. Now to get rid of these 3, I'm going to divide. Divide by -2, divide by 400, and divide by 436.79, and hit enter. What did I do with that answer? Good, you take the inverse cosine of your answer. And you get 4.64. So angle Y is 4.64 degrees. Is that my answer though? No, I've pushed my airplane off course 4 degrees. Okay? So remember, to find that value, okay, you're gonna say, I'm gonna start here and go all the way to this part, which would be, sorry, start at the top, go all the way, that would be a 90 and a 180, right? Plus, this is represented by 45, so 45 more. Plus the little shaded region that we just found was 4.64. So this is the part you have to do. 180 plus 45 plus 4.64. So 180 plus another 45 plus 4.64 gives you your final degree, which is 229.64 degrees. That's the direction you're heading. Okay, so that was problem 8. All right, skip 9 for me and go to 10. Skip 9 for me and go to 10. Set up 10. All right, to set this one up, it says the boat travels 15 miles on a northerly course. We haven't really had one that went north, okay? So if you're gonna go north, and then it tells us 15, so I'm just gonna make that kind of darker so you can tell. So this is 15. Then it says that you've got, a northerly course followed by traveling 12 miles on an easterly course. I'm sorry, I see that it's east now. So we're gonna go north, and we're gonna turn east. What degree turn is that if I turn from north to east?
90.
It's a 90-degree turn. Okay, but if you don't see it, then draw your new compass, which is kind of strange because it's on here. But draw it on there. Okay, so you just draw a new one. You stopped at 15. You're gonna have the new compass rose, and you are going to turn east. That means you're going to turn to the what?
East.
Turn to the right, correct? So now you're going this way. And it's 12 miles is the wind. Okay, now listen for a second. If I was going to go straight north, what degree would I call that? If our whole circle, compass source is 360 degrees, straight north would be called what? 0 degrees. Okay, and the wind is gonna go from here, it's gonna push me out a little. So no, I'm not gonna go 0, I'm gonna go to the right a little. So remember, when you make your triangle, you always connect back to the origin. So you're gonna go back to here. Correct? Okay, so to find x, which is our new route right here, I've got the two sides I need. I need also the angle in the middle. What is the angle in the middle of those two sides? Just look at the picture. What is it going to be? A 90-degree angle. So this is 90 degrees.
Why can't you just do Pythagorean
You
theorem?
can. Haven't got there yet, but you can. Okay? So if you on any triangle that's a right triangle, you can do Pythagorean theorem now. If it's not a right triangle, you'll have to do law of cosine. Remember, Pythagorean theorem would say x squared equals, that's the hypotenuse, the two legs. So 12 squared plus 15 squared. If for some reason you didn't notice that, you could do law of cosine, you're gonna get the same answer. Okay, when you do that, you end up getting 19.21 miles. So if you erase the x, because now you know the value of it, it's 19.21 miles. Okay, now let's think about this for a second. I was headed at 0 degrees and I was shifted out a little bit by the wind. The amount I was shifted out would be the angle here at the origin, like the same thing we've done every time. I'm looking for that angle, because that's going to tell me my heading, my degree. Okay, now the other thing to keep in mind, if you have trouble using law of cosine, what angle, this angle matches which side? Which side does that match? 12, right? The angle goes with the side opposite. So you always start with the side. You always start with the side that matches. So the side that matches the highlighted is 12. So you're going to start with 12. Or in other words, you always start with the wind speed. So 12 squared equals, because that angle was made by the wind. Okay, so 12 squared equals the other two, the 15 squared and what you found. Minus, remember you take the 2, then you minus 2 times the same two numbers. And then you do the cosine of your missing angle. So that's what your line should look like. Now I've shown you before how to do the math, remember? On your calculator, take it out, you're going to start with 12 squared. So 12 squared, what do I do next? Minus 15 squared minus 19.21 squared and hit enter. Then you're going to divide by -2, divide by 15, divide by 19 and hit enter. And then take the inverse. So your angle is, when you get y, you get 38.66. You should try it. Now, okay, so now then, y is 38. Is that the actual answer to the problem, 38 degrees at the heading? In this problem, yes. Because I was at 0, right? And I just kind of moved a little, 38, which is very rare. Usually you have to add something to y. But in this problem, you didn't have to. So that's just the answer. That's your heading. Okay, now then set up 11. Put your phones away and set up 11.